Okay, in this video here we're going to continue with worksheet 2 on log cosines. What I want to do is go through how to solve some of the word problems there in case you run into any difficulty. So the first question we have here, you have to find the length of the lake based on the measurements given in the diagram. So I would start first and let's just show the line that we need to find. So the length of the lake. Okay, so from here to there. And since we don't know that measurement, I'll just call it X. You could use any letter you want, but I'll use X. So the way we set up log cosines, here's the measurement that you want to find. So you start first by saying X squared equals. Then you use the other two measurements, so 650 squared, and you will add that to 440 squared. Subtract 2 times both those measurements. And then times cosine. So it's always the angle across from X. So we're going to begin with the length of X, and then we're going to end with using the angle across from X. So the way I like to think about this is my beginning and this is my end of the equation. Start of the equation, the end of the equation. That's the angle I use. And now you work out your math, so you may want to choose just to pause the video and see if your workings turn out similar to what I have here. So 650 squared. And don't be afraid of big numbers because you will run into them. And on the same note, don't be afraid of really small numbers. 422, okay, 500. So 422,500 and 940 squared, 883,000, 600. Subtract. So you do this part of the math here. 2 times 650 times 440. And you get 572,000. And then cosine of 87 degrees. You need that to 4 decimal places. So cosine is going to start with 0 decimal. So cosine 87. And you have 0 decimal 05 233. So we said we want 4 decimal places. So you don't count the 0 in front here. So if your first decimal if your first number after the decimal is a 0, then you don't count it. So here are 4 non-zero digits. If you don't get that number, check your calculator to see if it's in radian mode or degree mode. Your calculator, to work this out, you need to have your calculator in degree mode. Alright. So we add these two and then we'll work the math out on this side. A common place for students to make a mistake is to add the first 2 digits and subtract the last one. Order of operations would tell us to add the first 2, and then we have multiplication here going on. So that has to get done first before any subtraction. So be careful of your order of operations. So 422,500 plus 883,600, and you will get 1,306,100. And then 572,000 times 0 decimal 0 5233. And that's going to be 2,993 decimal, and it's 276, so I'm just going to say 28. Subtract these. So 1,303,106.72. And now to go from x squared down to x, you have to take the square root. And we get 1,141 decimal, and I'll write one decimal place, and our answer should be in meters. And then that answer would seem reasonable. From where someone is standing here, let's say an observer, it's 600 meters. To the other side of the lake is 400 meters. So yeah, coming in a little more than 1,000 meters across would seem reasonable. Okay, so let's look at our next one. So in that question we had to find a length of a side. If we look at this one, let's see what we have next. We have a campsite is at the end of a small cove in a lake. From the campsite to the distances to each end of the entrance to the cove is 1.5 kilometers and 1.7 kilometers. If the angle of the campsite is 37 degrees, how wide is the entrance to the cove? Alright. So you're looking to find, I'll just change my pen color here, this distance here. So again, you have this V or wedge shape. We have a side measurement, an angle, and another side measurement. That allows it to be set up for law of cosines. And we'll call this non-known side again x. Again, using the letter x isn't the important part, we're just identifying the variable. So then x squared is equal to, and at this point you can pause it and see if you set the equation up correctly. So you'd have 1.5 squared plus 1.7 squared, subtract, and then it's the same two sides again, but you're multiplying them together and multiplying by 2. And then cosine of which angle? Well, again, so we start with x, then we end with the angle. Cosine of 37 degrees. So 1.5 squared is 2.25. Now you may be tempted to put everything into a calculator and come back with an answer. I'm going to advise against doing that. In math, it's not necessarily the fact of coming up with the right answer, although that is important, but it's the process you take in getting there. So if you cloud that by just going from the question directly down to what you think is the answer, well, it's hard to judge what your thinking was as you went through it. Actually, I don't need that 2 there. So we're going to multiply that. So 2 times 1.5, well, that'll be 3 times 1.7. You get 5.1, or 5.1. And then cosine 37 degrees, so 0 decimal. 7.986. Alright, we're going to again use our order of operations, which means we would add our first two numbers, so 2.25 plus 2.89, we get 5.14. Subtract, and then we multiply these two together. So 5.1 times 0.7986, 4 decimal, and let's just go 2 decimal places here. So 5.14, subtract. 4.07. 1.07, you're going to take the square root of that. And you get 1.03. Kilometers. Okay. Just going to drop down and do a different question here now. So G, find the smallest angle in a triangle that has sides 3, 5, and 7. And you're thinking, well, you don't know what the triangle looks like. Well, you know what a triangle looks like. So if you had a triangle, oops, that is in no way looking like a triangle. Here we are. Draw just any old triangle. And we can label it, so don't be too concerned. I mean, this side looks shortest, so let's say 3 centimeters. Maybe that one's going to be 5. And 7 centimeters. Now, here's the important part. Find the smallest angle. Well, how do you know where the smallest angle is? Well, the smallest angle is always across from the smallest side. And if you reason this out, like the further apart you spread two sides, say this length and that one, and you spread them really wide apart, well, that's going to make the angle, the contained angle, the angle between, bigger, which would make this side bigger. So the more you spread an angle, or spread the sides, create a bigger angle, then the length across from that is going to become bigger. So if you think here, well, this is my smallest side, so the angle across from it has to be the smallest one. And if you, well, you don't have to believe me, take 3 sticks, 3 centimeters, 7 centimeters, and 5 centimeters. And you put them together to form a triangle, the smallest angle is going to be across from there. Now, finding that angle. So how was it we had to set up the formula? Well, we don't know what this angle is. It doesn't matter what we call it, we can call it A. So I'm just going to say cosine of A. So here's how you arrange the formula. It's the two sides that make up the angle, so we're going to use these, and you add them together. So, alright, looking somewhat similar to what we were doing before. But now we say subtract 3 squared. So if I want to find this angle, I take the two sides around the angle, I square them and add them together. Then I subtract the side that is across from the angle. Then it's 2 times and the same sides, 5 and 7. So you have 5 squared, 7 squared, all over. 2 times 5 is 10, 10 times 7 is 70. Oops, did see a little mistake there. 3 squared is 9, doesn't turn out to be 9 squared. So cosine of A. 25 plus 49, take away 9. Well, 49 take away 9 is 40 plus 25, so we'd have 65 on top over 70. So this, the answer you get from here has to be smaller than 1. Again, I'll repeat that the answer that you get from there, from that division, should be smaller than 1. And you end up with 0.92857. So 85786. And this is a step sometimes students forget to write in as well. You say A equals, and you have to show the inverse cosine. It should be cosine -1. And that gets a little blurred when I'm writing it at times. So let's do it right. 0.9286. So then my angle is, so on my calculator, the way it's set up, I hit second function cosine, 0.9286 equals, and I have 21.7. Now angles are usually done to the nearest degree, so 21.782, well, to the nearest degree, let's say 22 degrees. Alright, so I'm going to leave it at that there. That's long enough for video.